So I've always wanted to keep my internet life and my actual life separate to some degree. That doesn't really include the times in which I've lived entirely on the internet, but more so like going to school or work or family or any of these things. I've always wanted to keep those things a separate deal. I didn't want family members to know about my channel or people from school to know about my channel. But there was a time back when I used to make videos about old video games when I never really linked the channel to anybody. I had, I think, posted one or two videos on Facebook because the people who I had on Facebook weren't just from school. They were also a bunch of people who I had liked their videos on YouTube, and I would just add them on Facebook because I liked their videos. But I think some people found them from there. But what was more interesting was the fact that there would be people at school who would Google my name. They would just Google my name. I don't know why. I was probably the least interesting person in school. I barely talked to anyone. But people would Google my name. And they ended up finding my videos that way. And there was this one day where I was walking through the hall, and I had already had two different people tell me in the classroom that they saw my videos. And I was like, oh, okay, alright. And I didn't really say very much, but on the inside, I was really, really nervous and upset. I didn't know how to react other than that because I was ashamed of just about everything I was saying on my channel, like talking about old video games, the fact that I wasn't particularly charismatic. I just talked in a really slow, monotone voice, and I thought I looked pretty bad for my physical appearance. I just didn't like my videos. I did not like anything about them because I thought they were really bad. I was ashamed of them. And so, I get these two different people telling me this. When I start walking through the hall, I glance, I glance over to this girl, this a very tall girl is sort of what she was known for. That she was looking at her phone. She had I think it was like four people crowding around her. And they were all looking at her phone. And I think I heard my name being said as well. They were so mesmerized by what was on their phone. I keep walking, and the taller girl eventually comes over to me and says, "Hey, your YouTube channel is pretty cool." And I just feel kind of shocked at that point where I just say, thanks, thank you. And then I walked away pretty fast, where I had no idea what to say. Like, why does this girl think my YouTube channel is cool? I just, in a really monotone voice, talk about video games. And, they commented about, like, some of the edits, or they said, one of the edits was pretty cool. Because there was this part in one of my videos where I had snapped my fingers and then disappeared from the shot and then reappeared in another room. That was one of the edits that I thought was pretty cool to do. And it's a pretty simple edit. All you really need is instincts to know how to do it. You just hold the camera still in a certain shot, you get out a tripod or whatever, record that area with no one standing there, then you go stand there, say your piece and whatnot, snap your fingers, and then cut to that place without any person there. And then it looks like you disappeared because the shot hasn't moved, but the person themselves is no longer there. And then you just cut to an empty space in the new place you want to teleport to. And then you cut to another clip of, again, without the camera moving, you standing in that space. And so you really just have to walk in front of the camera and then walk away from the camera and then cut out the things in between. It's not that hard. Like, I didn't even need to look up how to do this. I just thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I did this with the editor? But people thought it was so cool because they didn't know about video editing. Because I was like four, yeah. Was I 13? No, I was like 13, wasn't I? Yeah, I was like 13. Because I was like 13, 14. People thought it was so cool. And so, was I? Yeah. 13. No. Yeah, it was like 13. It was, 6th grade. 6th grade. Something like that. And so it ended up being that almost everyone in our grade knew that I had a YouTube channel who knew who I was. And I just never brought it up. I intentionally just never brought up the fact that I had a YouTube channel. And every now and again, I actually had people from school comment on my videos, and they would say pretty positive things. And to this day, like, I don't really know why, other than just the novelty of the fact that I made videos was cool to some people. I even did a Q&A where one of the people from school left a question, and I answered it in the video. And it was funny too, because I said the word vague, and then he commented, "What does the word vague mean?" And then the next day at school he asked me, why do you use those big words in your videos? I was like 13 years old. And I, like, to me it wasn't a big word, it was just the first word that I thought of was to say the word vague. But this was a common occurrence at school, is that people go, why do you use those big words in your videos? I don't understand. And I never saw them as big words. Those were just the first words that I thought of, because my dad would always use more complicated words around me when I was a little kid. Where, like, I was like 5 years old. One of the first words that I really liked was facetious. It wasn't because I read it somewhere, it's because my dad told me what it meant. And he would always, like, he would never speak in a more simple tone to me when I was little, because he thought that made kids dumber. And so he would always speak to me the exact same way he would speak to other people. But because he liked to read, you know, was generally into, well, not really into English, but he liked some of the parts of it. He oftentimes speaks with more colorful language or words things in a way that's more complicated. And so I would learn those things from him, and then I would just copy them. A lot of the more complicated terms that I would use and the more complicated ways of framing things was just stuff that I copied from my dad, and then people would go into my videos and go, "Hey, what does that mean? Why are you talking like this? Is this intended? What's going on?" I was like, well, that was just the first thing I thought of saying. I remember at school too, when I was even when I was like 12 and a half, when I first started going to school, I would have to explain a lot of the things that I was saying in more simple terms to people, and I literally would just not know how to, or I'd have to sit there and think about it for a little. Okay, how can I reword this in the most simple way? Because I would just be saying things from instincts that were in a more complicated way, because that was just the way that my dad spoke. And like, my mom spent 10 years writing a book, and so she's not a very good writer at all. Her book's pretty bad, and like she doesn't really know how to use English very well, but like even her, like she would speak in a more complicated way than normal people would. And so I would get that from her too. Um, and like we would sometimes talk about different words that we liked and things like that. Um, for me, it was all really instinctual, but people would ask me, "Oh, why do you say things like that? Is it because your parents know about your channel, bro?" Um, and that was the other thing too, is that kids at school weren't the only ones who found my YouTube videos. When I wanted to get an Elgato game capture that same year, was it sixth or seventh grade? I think that was sixth. Of Christmas that year, I asked my aunt for the Elgato game capture, and she said to show her my channel, and she just wanted to know what the channel was. So I sent her a link, and all the videos are completely harmless at that time, just talking about video games. But she still has the link. She could go to my channel at any time and then immediately find out that I'm it's been fucked up in the head a little bit. And my parents, they could find my channel too if they really wanted to, and find all the things that I've said on here. Um, is what it is. You can't ever live with shame with the things that you say. That was really one of the big takeaways that I got from that whole thing. You can't live with shame with the things that you say. You have to get over it.